Everyone wondered what he was thinking. Months earlier, Woods had already stunned fans by declining the U.S. captaincy, according to PGA Tour reports. He explained that he couldn't commit the time the role required while his body was still recovering, amid non-stop obligations to the tour and the TGL project. On paper, it was a practical decision, but fans didn't see it that way. For many, it felt bigger than scheduling. It felt symbolic, as if the greatest player of the modern era was quietly stepping away from the chaos golf had become. Was he protecting his legacy or sending a silent message? Tiger's relationship with the Ryder Cup has never been straightforward. The Express resurfaced comments from 1999 when he had called the event an exhibition. At the time, it was dismissed as arrogance, a young champion obsessed with personal glory. In hindsight, those words carry a different weight. Perhaps he wasn't dismissing the cup at all. Perhaps he was warning of what happens when ego, spectacle, and noise replace respect, the same noise that would later define Beth. For months, Tiger said nothing. No statements, no tweets, just silence, deliberate, disciplined, unsettling. Fans filled the void with theories. Some assumed he was furious. Others believed he was heartbroken. But those closest to him saw something else entirely. Tiger wasn't absent. He was waiting for the world to quiet down enough to actually listen. And when he finally spoke, his words didn't echo, they cut. Not before flashing cameras or roaring crowds, but with a calm, measured voice, steady gaze, and no theatrics. He didn't defend anyone. He simply reminded everyone. Golf, he said, has always been a game of respect for the course, for your opponent, and for yourself. No anger, no accusations, just a clear truth slicing through months of chaos. What people heard that day wasn't noise. It was clarity. Tiger didn't point fingers. Instead, he turned the lens back on everyone who loves the sport. We all share responsibility, he said, urging everyone to preserve the game's honor. For him, the issue wasn't passionate, it was the loss of restraint, the surrender to impulse. He called on players, fans, and officials alike to reclaim golf's dignity, a message that resonated through clubhouses and press rooms for weeks. In an age of noise, Tiger was asking for quiet. He praised Luke Donald's composure under pressure, a subtle nod to leadership rooted in calm rather than chaos. Without naming names, Woods made his point clear. Greatness doesn't shout, it breathes. His tone wasn't nostalgic, it was urgent. He warned that if golf traded grace for spectacle, it would lose something far more valuable than trophies. You can't build a legacy on disrespect, he said softly, a line that felt less like commentary and more like a creed. Tiger, the philosopher of discipline, was protecting the soul of his sport. In that moment, the narrative shifted. Fans, who had spent months debating the behavior at Bethpage, now had something higher to focus on: integrity. Woods didn't give the sport answers. He held up a mirror, and in that reflection, golf saw not only its mistakes but its potential to be better. His words rippled through the game like a slow tide reshaping stone. Within days, other legends followed, not to contradict him but to echo what they had long felt. Tom Watson, still shaken by the scenes at Beth, called Tiger's message the breath of truth the game needed. We can't change the crowd overnight, but we can change the example we set. Gary Player, whose earlier outburst had labeled the event the worst in the world, softened his tone, admitting his anger stemmed from love for a game that once demanded decorum. Jack Nicklaus added his voice, calling Tiger's words truly a Shivishnova Volmond, advocated for clearer codes of conduct and stronger authority to protect the game's standards. What began as outrage was turning into reform. Across social media, podcasts, and practice greens, a new phrase began to surface: protect the game. It wasn't a slogan, it was a mission. Golf's legends had transformed frustration into purpose, criticism into stewardship. As their message spread, something long forgotten stirred. The quiet pride that once defined the game. Maybe the 2025 Ryder Cup wasn't golf's fall from grace. Maybe it was its wake-up call. What happened at Bethpage, with all its chaos and confrontation, left the sport exposed, but in that vulnerability, something powerful began to grow. It was no longer about blame. It was about shared responsibility. Tiger's words didn't accuse, they awakened, reminding fans, players, and leaders that golf's greatness was never rooted in noise, but in quiet strength. Sometimes the only way to heal a tradition is to open it up first. In the weeks that followed, a strange calm settled over the sport, felt in locker rooms, on practice ranges, and in the careful choice of commentators' words. Handshakes lingered, longer cheers softened. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. The honesty of legends like Woods, Nicklaus, and Watson became the mirror golf needed to see itself clearly. The headlines began to shift, moving away from chaos and toward reflection. The noise slowly faded, and respect returned. The PGA of America opened discussions on new guidelines, real authority for marshals, stricter crowd conduct standards, and better mental health resources for players, not as punishment, but as promises to protect the integrity of the sport. Tiger's conviction restored belief not only in the players but in the spirit that binds them together. Golf wasn't just recovering, it was remembering who it was. Then came one of those quiet, almost sacred moments only golf can create. Cameras captured Tiger Woods walking the practice fairway at dusk, bag slung over his shoulder. No fans, no applause. Just the rhythm of his steps and the wind in the trees as the sun dipped low. His words seemed to linger in the fading light. Honesty isn't about judgment. It's about protecting the game you love. Maybe that's exactly how golf finds its way back to grace. But contrast arrives soon after. Under the bright lights of Florida's TGL Arena, the crowd buzzed, cameras flashed, and all for a mistake. Tiger misread 199 yards, as 99 pulled a wedge and watched the ball fall embarrassingly short. Silence turned into laughter. Even from his own teammates, a reminder that even as golf searched for its soul, its greatest figure remained human. Later, Tiger called it one of the most embarrassing moments of his career for the first time in a long while. The legend, built on surgical precision, looked unmistakably human. On its own, the swing could have been dismissed as a harmless fluke, another viral clip destined to fade after a weekend of memes. But this wasn't just anyone. This was Tiger Woods, the man whose movements once defined perfection. The irony was impossible to ignore. A golfer synonymous with control, undone by a simple yardage misread, in a sterile, tech-driven TGL environment where even the smallest error felt symbolic. Not a glitch in the simulator, but a lapse in the focus of a man who built his empire on control. Suddenly, fans and analysts were asking questions. Was this just bad luck, or a sign that something deeper might be slipping away? And why, despite everything, was he still pushing so hard, experimenting, reinventing, chasing something new? The moment wasn't about one swing. It was about direction. As 2025 unfolds, the real question looms larger than ever: is Tiger's next move his greatest comeback or his biggest mistake yet? Long before the TGL blunder, Woods had already lived a career defined by brilliance, reaching heights